Hey, welcome back. We'll be continuing our full breakdown of Daniel, and we're picking it back up right at chapter 3. I don't want to say Daniel chapter 3 is straightforward, but it's pretty straightforward. I think most people that grew up in the church have heard this story. Maybe it's not the most common story told in Sunday school, but I remember hearing it growing up. Nebuchadnezzar makes an idol, and everyone's commanded to bow down. Let's see, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they refuse, so they get thrown into the furnace, but God saves them. One thing that's always worth pointing out, or at least the question always seems to arise whenever it gets talked about in a deep breakdown or discussion like this, is where is Daniel at this time? Is he at home for the day? Did he just not get noticed? That he refused to bow down? Or did he? I hate to think that, and that seems quite out of character given the full context of the book of Daniel, but I suppose all speculation is just that, speculation, and we'll never really know. Continuing on to chapter 4, guess what? Nebuchadnezzar has another dream, and again he wants the interpretation. And this time he even tells his wise men the dream, and they still can't figure it out. Truly showing how foolish they are. Pro tip, lean not on your own understanding. Daniel, he is able to, of course, interpret it. We'll start on verse 19. Then Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, again, he hates his new name. He always points that out. He's troubled by the dream's interpretation, not because he doesn't know what it is, but because he knows the king ain't gonna like this. So he goes on, he talks about the dream. 24 is actually where I want to be. This is the interpretation, O king, and it's a decree. They shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and they shall wet thee with the dew of heaven, and 7 times shall pass over thee, till thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will. And whereas they command to leave the stump of the tree roots, thy kingdom shall be sure unto thee. After that thou shalt have known that the heavens do rule. And then Daniel gives, in 27, Daniel gives some advice. He goes, hey, repent, be a righteous man. You've seen enough to know that the God of Israel is the God. And of course the king is foolish, he is prideful, he denies his advice. While the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven saying, O King Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from thee. And in verse 33, the same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar. He was driven from men, and did eat grass as oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like bird's claws. That disease or affliction, or whatever you want to call it, that Nebuchadnezzar had, that is a real thing. It is a rare disease called lycanthropy, from the Greek word leukos, meaning wolf, and anthropos, meaning man. He thinks he is an oxen. And then, sure enough, when the 7 years is up, he regains back his sanity, and he's himself again. And he repents and gives glory to God. A few things you got to know about chapter 5. Verse 1, he gives away Belshazzar. There's a new king. Belshazzar was the son of Nabonidus and the grandson of Nebuchadnezzar. So this chapter was actually going to follow chapters 7 and 8 in chronology. For the vision of chapter 7 was seen in the first year, and that of chapter 8 in the 3rd year of Belshazzar. Obviously, these two chapters were flip-flopped to keep the prophetical sections, chapters 7 through 12, together. So that one is basically history and events, and the other is prophecy. The other thing I might want to point out, Belshazzar is Nebuchadnezzar's grandson. There is no word in the Chaldean language for grandfather. The word father, it gets used of ancestors many times throughout their history. And Jeremiah writes in 27:7, all nations shall serve him, referring to Nebuchadnezzar, and his son Nabonidus, and his son's son Belshazzar, until the very time of his land to come. Again, this is later. Some years have passed. They're all partying. A hand comes out and starts writing on the wall, and the whole party stops, and everyone is freaking out instead of the king. And the queen, in verse 10, is actually the wise person here. She goes, hey, your grandfather promoted this guy Daniel. He was really smart. You should ask him what's going on. And luckily, Belshazzar listens. So Daniel gets brought out, and they ask for, hey, what does this mean? And Daniel, of course, he can do it. So the writing is many, many tekel a person, and I'm sure I butchered the pronunciation. And he explains many, many means numbered, numbered. It's repeated twice for emphasis. God has numbered your kingdom and it will be finished. Tekel, meaning weighed. You are weighed in the balances and are found wanting. And a parson or farson, which is the plural of the word paris, peers, meaning division. The kingdom is split up and given to the Medes and the Persians. And Daniel gets rewarded exactly how he promised, third ruler of the kingdom. But that night the Medes and the Persians come and take over. Right, we're already starting to get into the next empire. Chapter 6 is quite straightforward. Again, another classic Bible story. If you went to Sunday school ever, you have heard this story. Daniel, it's basically a political plot to slay Daniel, but it backfires because God is always watching out for him. That really is a big theme in these first 6 chapters of Daniel, where it's events. If you have faith in God, he will protect you, right? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego see it in the fire furnace. Daniel sees it in the lion's den. All 4 of them see it at the very beginning when they do the Prince of the Eunuchs agrees to a 10-day test to make sure, so that they can eat the food that they are okayed to eat, and they don't eat the food that's forbidden to eat, and they look fairer than the rest. We'll call it there and pick up on 7 next time.